Hi everyone, welcome back to your practice today. I have a couple blocks and a belt, so feel free to grab whatever props you have at your house to make the practice more comfortable and more accessible. Let's get started on our backs. So let's go ahead and lie back, find a comfortable way to start our practice. You can have your knees bent and resting against each other if you have any concerns with the lower back, or if it feels good to extend those legs long, go ahead and do so. Separate those feet a little bit wider than the hips, and let's have our arms down by the sides with the palms facing up. Let's just take a few moments here to kind of take stock of how your body's doing, how your mind's doing, how your heart's doing. And if you have anything, any concerns, anything that has been on your mind that you don't need for your practice, just maybe exhale out the mouth a few times just to let it go, knowing that after your practice, you can always come back to it. Let's start to focus on our breath, our Ujjayi breath, building that. As we breathe in and out through the nose, if that's open and comfortable, feeling the lower belly rise and fall as you breathe. And then adding that soothing sound of your breath, as if you're fogging a mirror, both as you inhale and as you exhale. And then recognizing any parts of the body that might feel different, might need some extra attention, or might need some modification or even skipping. So always feel free to modify or skip anything that doesn't feel good. You can take as many breaks as you like. You can even stay in this pose the whole time if you need some extra rest. So do what feels good to your body and also your mind and heart. So if your legs are extended long, go ahead and bend those knees to slide the feet onto the floor. And then let's hug those knees into the chest. Maybe lift the hips or the tailbone off of the mat. Maybe go side to side if that feels good. Kind of just feeling things out, seeing how the lower back is doing for today. And then let's place the left foot down, cross the right thigh over the left. Let's lift and shift our hips a little bit over to the right. Just come into a very shallow twist. So we'll reach those right toes to the floor on the outside of the mat and maybe extend the right arm out. Keep the shoulders just firmly planted down and see if you can relax into the twist. So it's a very shallow twist, nothing too deep since we're just starting our practice. Taking a couple deep Ujjayi breaths here. Feeling a little bit of release for the lower back. And then use your core muscles to draw yourself back to center. And we'll just gently move over to the other side. So crossing left thigh over the right. Lift and shift the hips or your bottom a little bit to the left so the tailbone stays along the center line of the mat. And then just allowing those legs to fall any amount that feels good to your body. So that might be just a few degrees, or if it's comfortable and you're already warmed up, you can go a little bit deeper. Taking just a couple more Ujjayi breaths here, relaxing the body. Trying to get the body as relaxed as possible for our practice. And then use your core muscles to draw those legs back to center. Let's return our hips back to the center part of the mat and then hug those knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. We'll take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, use your core muscles to lift the shoulders and the head off of the mat, direct the forehead to the knees. So you can use a little bit of assistance with your hands, but we're not using the strength of our arms to lift up. And then on the next inhale, let's slowly relax back down. Take one full rounded breath here. Take another inhale. Exhale, peel the head. And then inhale, slowly relax it down. So warming up through the core. One more time. Exhale, lift. And then inhale, lower. And then let's place those fingertips. You can either interlace the fingers behind the head or just place them to the outside of the ears. Move the shoulders down away from the ears. So snuggle them more towards the hips. And then let's start to extend those legs up to the ceiling. Separate the feet about hip bone distance. And then let's find some movement in the toes and the feet and the ankles. Seeing if you can relax that upper half of the body. If you were circling your feet, change the direction of your feet circles. And then let's take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, just draw those knees towards the chest. Inhale, legs extend up, maybe a little bit lower if you want a little bit more challenge, up to you. Make sure the lower back isn't compromised. Really tighten up through the core, neutral position in the spine. Breathe here. Take another inhale. And then exhale, use the strength of the core of the legs to draw those thighs in. Maybe pick your bottom off the mat, or maybe not. So listen to your spine. Inhale, extending, maybe a little bit lower this time or not. Exhale, hug it in. Really feel, isolate the muscles of the core. Inhale to extend. Exhale, draw it in. And one last time. Exhale, draw it in. And then let's release those feet down onto the mat. Release the hands from underneath your head. Relax the head back down. And then let's find our way into bridge pose. So separate those feet and knees hip bone distance, arms down by the sides, palms down. Inhale is to lift those hips, leading with the tailbone. Exhale, slowly roll it down, releasing back down. Inhale is to lift. And exhale, release back down. So 3 more times on your rhythm of breath. Feeling a nice stretch along the thighs, the front part of the body. Feeling the work of the back of the body. And then let's slowly roll it on down. Let's extend the right leg up, feel a nice stretch underneath the right leg, and then flex through the foot, so knees towards your face. And then let's come into thread the needle. So we'll draw the right ankle over the left thigh above the knee. And remember to make sure your joints are happy, so modify as you need to or even skip. And then from here, we'll start to float the legs towards the chest until you feel your mild sensation of a stretch. Take an inhale. Stay for the exhale. And then inhale, we're going to keep that right leg as is. We'll just start to straighten the left leg. Straighten the left leg up to the ceiling. If you want a little bit more, start to lower the leg shape. And then let's draw it back in. Coming back to that thread the needle stance. So inhale, straighten the left leg, lowering it to your comfortable point. Exhale, draw it in, and we'll do 3 more rounds. Still working through the core, so make sure that spine is in neutral position. The lower back stays in that neutral position. It's not tensing up, really engaging through the lower belly muscles. You'll also get a nice stretch as we start to open up the hips last time. And then draw it in. Release the feet down onto the mat. And then let's move over to the other side. Extend the left leg up. First, find a nice stretch on the back of the left leg. And then let's find that thread the needle position. So make sure you're drawing the toes up to the knees, so keep the foot flexed the whole time. And then engage through the lower part of the belly so you can draw the legs as close to you as is comfortable. Remember, you can modify. You can even keep the right toes down on the floor if you need to. Staying here for 1 round of breath so you can find kind of your mild sensation of a stretch so you know how close the legs can go to you. And then inhale, let's stretch that right leg towards straight, maybe a little bit lower. Feel the squeeze, even feel the work of the side waist. And then exhale, draw it in. Find your mild sensation of a stretch only. Inhale. Exhale, draw it in. So let's do 3 more rounds. Remember, we want to maintain as best as we can a parallel left lower leg to the chest. So we don't want the knee to be coming in too close to the chest. I have 1 more time. Nice. And then let's release the feet down back onto our mat for our bridge pose. Feet and knees hip bone distance, all 10 toes parallel to each other. And let's start to lift those hips. Let's keep those hips elevated. We're just going to move the arms. So inhale, arms lift. And then exhale, arms lower. Moving on the rhythm of the breath. Find that backward tilt of the pelvis. So the tailbone is trying to point up towards the ceiling. Feeling the work of the back of the body, a nice stretch for the front. 1 last time. Inhale to lift the arms. Exhale, let's lower everything down, maybe even lifting the heels and controlling the descent down. And then we'll hug those knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. And then when you're ready, let's roll onto one side and carefully make our way up to a comfortable seated position. Let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart. Take a moment here. Feel the length of the spine, the strength of your core as it supports that neutral position of the spine. Maybe close the eyes if that feels good. Find your Ujjayi breath. And then if you'd like to set an intention or a dedication for your practice, go ahead and do so at this time. And then let's open the eyes if they're closed. Namaste. Nice to see you all again. Let's place our hands onto the thighs. Let's come into a few circles of the spine. So remember, if sitting cross-legged doesn't feel so good, you're always welcome to sit in a different way. Kind of just feeling things out, making sure the joints are happy. Let's change the direction. Maybe even the hips or the knees come up a little bit if that feels good. And then let's come back to center. Let's extend those arms out to the side and come onto the fingertips and then move the shoulders down. So actively pulling the shoulder blades down towards the waist. Let's first turn just the head over to one direction. Notice if the knees are coming up. See if you can relax them down. If the knees are coming up pretty high, then you can always slide a pillow or a blanket or a towel underneath your bottom. That'll help. Also help to release any tension in the hip area. Let's come through center. We're still reaching those fingertips and pressing them down. So moving the shoulders down. Notice if your shoulders are forward of the hips. Try to stack them right atop the hips, engaging through the belly. Nice easy stretch for the neck. Let's come back to center. Let's change the crossing of the legs if they're crossed. Draw those fingers back behind you. Roll open the chest, so shoulder blades moving towards each other and then down the back. You can stay high onto your fingertips or flatten the palms, whatever feels comfortable. Maybe you have those fingertips pointing right back behind you. Find this nice opening for the chest. Maybe the gaze is up. Breathing here. And then let's slowly walk our hands back forward again. Let's interlace the fingers and just find some movement for the hands, for the wrists. Nice, easy warm up for those areas. And then change the direction. If it feels good, you can crack the knuckles. Ooh. And then change the crossing of the fingers. Palms press forward, shoulders move down. Breathing here, let's add a little twist. So let's take an inhale and then exhale, twist to one direction. Try to keep the center of kind of the interlacing of your fingers right at the chest. We don't want the arms to go too far past the center of the chest. Let's come back to center, over to the other side, working the muscles that support the spine to come into that twist. And then let's come back to center. Inhale, circle those arms out and up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's do 2 more times with the breath. You can think of this as kind of a cleansing for whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your body. And then let's come forward onto our hands and knees and continue our spinal warm-up. Finding our way into our cow-cat. Inhaling, let's find ourselves into our cat pose, and then exhaling, rounding through the spine. So move on your rhythm of breath a few more times. This is always a good one to do, especially in the morning, as long as you are safe to do so and it feels good. Let's come back to center. Let's draw those knees a little bit closer together and extend the right leg straight back. You can keep the toes down, or you can lift the right leg to the height of the hip. Right toes point down. And then let's start to extend the left arm forward. Breathe here. So because our knees started kind of center line of the body, it's a little bit more challenging, but if you need to separate the knees a little bit further away in that starting position, feel free to do so. And then let's come back down and then over to the other side. So left leg straight back, toes down, or leg lifts. Maybe stay here, maybe right arm. Just finding the balance for today. Engaging strongly through the core, through the legs. Breathe here. Nice. And then let's come back down. Let's retreat back into our child's pose, or whatever pose is a resting pose for you. If you're coming into child's pose, widen those knees, a little bit wider than the hips. Sink those hips down to a comfortable point. Maybe placing something under your forehead, or stacking or having your forehead onto the mat, and then release. Maybe exhale out the mouth a couple times. Just feel the sensation of melting down. Notice if you are holding any tension, maybe it's the shoulders or alongside the neck. See if you can relax a little bit more. So really making this child's pose a true resting pose, so as little energy in the body as possible. And remember, if child's pose isn't very comfortable, feel free to come into a different pose. And then let's slowly slither forward onto our bellies. Let's do some more core work. Let's find our way into our forearm plank. So you're welcome to have the forearms parallel to each other, or you can interlace the fingers. Draw the shoulders back, knees down or knees up as you lift the hips. Try to find neutral position in the spine and really feel that squeezing sensation of those muscles that support the spine. So those core muscles squeezing in to hold the spine in place. Neutral position, especially in the lower back. Notice if the hips are starting to sag. Engage, pull the belly up. Breathe here, long in the neck. And then the gaze is just straight down. So we don't want the head to hang down or look forward. We want that back of the neck to be nice and long. We'll just take a couple more rounds of breath here, wherever you are. Finding that Ujjayi breath. Move the shoulders back, lots of work. And then let's slowly release it on down. Let's come into our Sphinx pose. If you'd like, you can even draw the elbows a little bit forward of the shoulders and then draw the shoulders back. Press into those forearms, into the elbows. Lift the belly a little bit away from the mat so we're not collapsing into the lower back. And then let's drop the chin down. Easy stretch along the back of the neck. Still energizing strongly in those elbows, so pressing into the elbows. Maybe turning the head so the chin is over to the right shoulder a little bit, feeling that nice stretch of the neck. Over to the other side. Come back to center. Release it down. Stack forehead onto the hands, bend those knees. Little sway of the lower legs, right and left. You might even feel a little twisting action in the hips. And then let's do that one more time. Interlace the fingers opposite pinky on the bottom, or you can have your forearms parallel to each other, your yogi's choice. Maybe the knees are down, or maybe the knees are lifted, coming into full plank. So find what works best for you. And then find your Ujjayi breath. Making any minor adjustments as you see fit, noticing if the hips are really coming up high as best as you can. Try to keep them a little bit lower than the height of the shoulders. At any time, if you need to lower the knees, you can. Feel the strength of the core, the strength of the thighs. And then let's slowly release it on down. And then we'll release the chest all the way down so that we can slide our hands alongside the ribs for cobra. Tops of the feet press firmly into the mat, elbows in, shoulders back. Inhale into cobra. Feel the pull of the navel up into the spine so we're not overarching through the lower spine. And then exhale, release. Inhale is to lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, cobra, and then this time exhale. Let's press it back and settle into child's pose. Just taking a moment here, or if you're ready to come into downward facing dog, the next pose that we're going to do, you can go right into it if you feel ready to do so. And then let's come back, tabletop pose, and your choice of inversion, either puppy pose with the hips staying over the knees and walking those arms forward, moving the chest down. Or if you're ready for downward facing dog, you can curl the toes under, lift those hips, press it up and back. Think about the position of the shoulders. Always thinking about the position of the shoulders just to make sure that we prevent any discomfort or injury. So moving the shoulders down, away from the ears. Feel free to bend those knees as much as you need to, or widen the feet as much as you need to, pedaling through the legs if that feels good. For me today, I'm kind of ready just to come into stillness and enjoy this lengthening of the spine, this opening of the back of the body. Find your Ujjayi breath. Take a few more rounds of breath here, but if you'd like to come into a child's pose to take a break, you can. And notice as we are here for a little bit longer, if the elbows, the pointy parts of the elbows start to flare out, see if you can draw them so they start to point down towards the mat as best as you can comfortably, so you can really feel the work of the muscles of the upper back. Nice. One last round of breath here. And then let's release, knees down, back into child's pose, or whatever pose feels good to your body. And then from our child's pose, let's rise back up. Let's come back into downward facing dog or puppy pose just for a moment. And if you're in your downward facing dog, let's start to pedal our feet. And then we're going to just slowly inch our way forward, trying to keep the palms of the hands onto the mat as best as you can. Remember, you can bend those knees as much as you need to. Feeling the shoulders start to shift over the wrists. And then at some point, maybe rising up onto your fingertips as we continue to slowly walk our way up, getting a nice stretch for those ankles, work for the calves until you get to the top of the mat. Coming into a forward fold. And then bend those knees. Let's slowly roll up the spine, always engaging through the belly. Work those legs. Come to the top of the mat. Fix the clothes if you need to. Inhale, arms up. And then exhale, hands to the heart. Let's come right into a balance. So I know it's kind of early. We just stood up. Let's see where the balance is for now. Right leg is a standing leg. Let's come into tree pose. And maybe you're keeping the left toes on your mat for a little support, or maybe you're sliding up a little bit higher. Or maybe if you are in the afternoon right now and you want to slide your foot up a little bit higher, go ahead and do so. Just make sure that you're not pressing against that inner knee. Let's draw that left knee to point forward and then step it back. Let's come into a high crescent base. So separating those feet, hip bone distance, bending the right knee to stack and track. And then let's add the arms. Arms forward and up, pull the shoulders down. Take a moment here, making sure that the spine is in neutral position, shoulders are over the hips, right knee is tracking towards the direction of the center of the toes, stacked over that ankle, and then freeze it there. And then maybe making sure that you're pressing into the right heel by wiggling your right toes. Really press into the right heel so you can feel that right glute work. Let's take another inhale here. And then as you exhale, let's transition slowly back into our tree pose, taking as many steps as you need to, putting the foot down if you need to arrive back into tree. Taking a moment here. So not only working on our balance, but feel the strength of this pose too. So feel mountain pose in your tree pose, engaging through the core, and then let's slowly step it down over to the other side. Left leg is a standing leg. Let's come into tree on this side. Whatever tree feels appropriate for your body. Taking a moment, enjoying any of those wiggles and shakes that you might feel. And then let's draw that right knee to point forward as carefully as you can. Step it back, adjust for your high crescent pose. Make sure those feet are hip bone distance. And then that position of the knee, stack, track, and freeze it. Position of the shoulders, core is engaged, really strong through the back leg as well. And then add the arms. Take a moment here. Just kind of opening things up, feeling the power of our body. Feeling how this side is for our balance. Nice. And then let's slowly transition back to our tree pose as smoothly and carefully as you can. Maybe taking a few toe stops on the way. Nice. And then let's step back down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold it forward. Let's warm up the body. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, let's step it back into plank. top of a push-up. Knees can be up or down. Take a moment here to adjust your plank. Find that Ujjayi breath, shoulders back. And then on the next inhale, shift a little bit forward. Maybe for this one, knees down. Exhale, let's lower to our belly with control. Elbows alongside the body, hugging in. Inhale into your cobra. And then exhale, press it up and back, downward facing dog. Start to pedal through the legs as we slowly walk it forward. And seeing how long you can keep those palms on the mat comfortably. Ooh, I almost made it. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Let's rise all the way up, flat back if you can. Exhale, hands to the heart. Couple more rounds, sun salute. Exhale, release. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step it back to plank. Remember, feel free to skip the vinyasas, go straight back to downward facing dog. Otherwise, inhale, shift it forward. Exhale, lower. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then let's start to pedal through those feet. Walk it forward. Keeping those hands, palms down as best as you can. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Rise on up. Hands to the heart. One more round. Feel free to modify or do whatever version feels good to your body. You can skip the vinyasas. You can add extra push-ups if you want it more energetic. Inhale, shift it forward. Exhale, lower. As long as the technique and alignment is there, feel free to do what feels good for your body. Let's start to walk it forward. Oh, I had to lift my palms up a little early. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Let's rise all the way up. And then hands to the heart. Let's circle one arm out and up. Just come into a nice, easy side bend. Side bend and breathe. Make sure you're not locking out the knees. Make sure you're not twisting. Just side bend to a comfortable point. Let's make our way up. Inhale, opposite arm up. Exhale, move the shoulder down. Whatever feels good. Feel that length along the side waist. Let's come back up. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Back at the top of the mat. Inhale, arms out and up or forward and up. Exhale, dive it down. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, bend those knees, plant the fingertips, step the left foot back. Let's lower the left knee to the mat, place the hands onto the right thigh, press it up, and then draw those hips back just a little bit so that we can still think about lengthening through the lower spine. Breathing here. Maybe keep the hands onto the thigh for a little bit more support, or you're lifting those arms up and releasing down. Take another inhale. And then as you exhale, let's come into a prayer twist. So either hands will shift forward, and then either hands to the outside of the right leg, or if you feel you can go a little bit deeper, hook the left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, press the palms together, and lift just to a comfortable point. We're going to curl the left toes under. Inhale is to straighten the left leg. Exhale, release it back down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale to straighten. Try to stay as low as you can. Exhale, release. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, release. Let's come back to center. Arms forward and up. Let's curl those left toes under and then straighten it up. Whew. Little bit lower of a high crescent. Take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, let's hinge forward at the hips. Place the fingertips down. Remember, you can use a block if you'd like. Maybe a brief pause in our standing splits just to feel how that right leg is opened up. And then go ahead and step it down. Over to the other side. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Fingertips down. Let's step the right foot back, a little bit over to the right, so the feet stay about hip bone distance apart. Release that right knee down, patting it up if you need to. Remember, stacking that front knee and freezing it. Draw those hips back a little bit. Your mild sensation of a stretch on that back thigh. And then maybe coming into the arms up And releasing the shoulders down. Low crescent pose. Still pressing into the left heel. Lots of energy in this pose. Even if the back knee is down, still working the body. Take an inhale. Exhale, hinging it forward. Come into your twist. Either hands on the outside of that front thigh or hooking the elbow, prayer twist to a comfortable point. Breathing here. Let's curl those back toes under. I'm going to shift my back knee a little bit forward and then inhale. Exhale, release back down. Try to keep the head from bobbing up and down. So inhale and exhale, working the balance. One last time, inhale and exhale. Let's release, come back, arms forward and up. And then let's straighten that back leg. Remember to try to keep the head from bobbing up too high. Let's take another inhale and then exhale, release down, standing splits just for a moment. And then let's place right foot down, widen those feet, a little bit wider than the hips. Let's come into a sustained forward fold. So maybe forearms are onto the thighs, or if you can easily reach, a little bit lower. All right, and then let's start to bend those knees, coming into your yogi squat. So you could be a little bit higher. Remember to listen to your joints, or if you're ready to go a little bit lower, go ahead and go to your comfortable point. Breathing here. And then let's invert ourselves one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. This time exhale, let's step it back. Plank pose, top of a push-up. Knees can be down for this one. If you're in your full plank pose, separate your feet about hip bone distance apart. Let's roll onto the outer edge of the right foot, inner edge of the left. Left arm comes up. Remember, knee down is always an option. Maybe extend that left arm up. Really feel the lift of the sideways. And then let's come back to center. Over to the other side. Try to keep that bottom hand right underneath the shoulder. Maybe extend that top arm up. Lift. And then come back. Release the knees down. Let's sit it back into child's pose. From child's pose, let's make our way back to downward facing dog. Step the feet a little bit closer together. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Try to keep the shoulders and the chest square down, but lifting that right knee as if to point it up towards the ceiling. And then let's draw ourselves forward into plank, knee to nose, engage through the core, and then step that foot in between the hand or place it there with your own hand. We're going to stay low for this one. So find your feet in warrior 2 feet. Maybe grab a block or a book or something that can give you a little bit of height. You can also use a chair if that's a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to place the block on the outside of my right foot so that there is a connection between my outer right leg and my right arm. And then I'm going to open up, side angle pose. Maybe take the top arm up over the ear. See if you can find a relatively straight line and energize that line along the outside of the left side of the body or the top side of the body. Take another breath here, and then let's release it back down. Step it back, maybe plank, maybe a vinyasa, or maybe straight back to downward facing dog. Step the feet together, over to the other side. Inhale, left leg floats up and back. Try to get that left knee to point up to the ceiling as best as you can comfortably. Make sure that right knee, that bottom knee, is still pointing towards the direction of the center of the toes. And then let's shift forward into plank, knee to nose. And then step or carry for warrior 2 base. Maybe taking a block or a book to the outside of the left leg, or coming up forearm onto the thigh is always an option as well. Try to turn the hips towards that long edge of the mat. Maybe the top arm comes up over the ear, shoulders move down. Breathe here. Warrior 2 base of the feet, side angle pose. And then let's slowly release hands down. Step it back. Your choice, vinyasa or straight back to downward facing dog.
Right leg floats back and up, bend the knee, open the hip. Straighten out that right leg, square off the hip. Step or carry it between the hands, warrior two base once again. Maybe using a block, or maybe the forearm is onto the thigh, whatever feels good for your body. Just revisiting side angle pose. And then let's make our way back up to warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Nice easy stretch. Exhale, side angle pose. 2 more times, just flowing with the breath. Opening up the body, making sure that front knee stacked and tracks. Strong in the legs. The lower half of the body is really still and strong as best as you can. And then let's circle it down. Step it back, plank. Your choice. Maybe it's a modified vinyasa, or maybe it's a plank hold, or straight back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg floats back and up. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Straighten that left leg, and then let's step or carry it. Find your way to your side angle pose. Just for a moment here, and then let's come into warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior, nice big stretch, and then exhale, side angle. The depth is up to you. Inhale, reverse, strong in the legs. Exhale, side angle. One more time. And then side angle all the way down. Remove any props. Step it back. Your choice, either straight back downward facing dog or flow through your vinyasa. As long as you're keeping the alignment really good. And then let's start to pedal through the legs. We're going to walk our feet to the center of the mat. And then bend those knees, slow roll it up the spine. And when you get there, straighten the clothes if needed, arms up, and then hands to the heart. And then let's face the long edge of the mat and separate those feet. Inhale, arms out and up, all 10 toes pointing forward. Exhale, soft bend in the knees, fold it forward. Finding our forearms onto the thighs for this first one, and a little side lunges, directing the knee when we bend the knee, tracks towards the center of the toes, and just finding how your legs are feeling, the inner thighs, the backs of the legs. Let's come back to center, bending those knees so you can place the hands onto the mat or use a block if you need to. So if you do have props, feel free to use them. I'm just going to adjust myself a little bit so I'm more towards the other edge of the mat. Nice, strong, flat back. Let's take one hand to the center so it falls right underneath your face, coming into a twist where the lower half of the body stays as still as you can. And then almost like an archer, we're going to pull that top arm up. Breathing here. So even pressure in the feet, move the shoulders away from the ears, bend those knees as much as you need to. Try to maintain a long spine so we're not rounding through the spine. And then let's release back down. Over to the other side. Remember, just like we're pulling an arrow back from our bow, breathing here. Notice if you're really heavy in the heels, try to move the weight a little bit more towards the balls of the feet so we don't overstretch, and find the twist that works best for you. Remember to skip, especially if you have any shoulder concerns, and then let's slowly release it down. We're going to walk our fingertips forward, maybe even off the mat, thinking of downward facing dog arms, very wide leg downward facing dog arms, and then settling down. A lot of energy still in the body, a lot of stretch in the body as well. And then let's start to walk our hands back underneath us. Let's start to bend those knees, heel toe the feet in a little bit so that we can come into temple pose. So feet are angled about 45 degrees, start to bend those knees, release those hips down. Let's walk the hands onto the thighs to come on up and find our way into temple. Let's open up those arms, cross one elbow over the other. Let's find eagle arms. Maybe it's just fingertips on the shoulders or reaching for the shoulder blades. Maybe you're starting to weave.
Relax the shoulders down. Breathe here. Work in those legs. And then let's unwind those arms, stand up nice and tall. Draw those arms out and up, and then sink it back down. Temple pose. Extend those arms out. Opposite elbow on top, and then find what works best for your body. Find your Ujjayi breath. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and it's safe to do so, you can close the eyes, but you don't have to. Really feeling the work of those legs. And then let's slowly release, straighten the legs, arms out and up, hands to the heart. Let's draw all 10 toes to point forward to start. So our wide leg stance. Let's come into triangle pose. Let's lift one heel, open it up. So think of warrior 2 feet, so adjust that back foot. But both legs are going to be straight. We'll extend those arms out and pull the shoulders down. Draw the hips back as we reach forward and up. Get as much length as you can in the side waist. And then maybe the bottom hand, back of the bottom hand to the inside of that front leg. And then opposite arm on top. Maybe a little extension if that feels good. Feel the work of the core. Feel the work of those thighs. To come out, we'll bend through the front knee to come back up. And then release. Let's move over to the other side. We'll first come back to our starting stance and then over to the other side. Adjusting for your feet. Let's open it up, move the shoulders down, and then let's come into triangle on this side. Hips back, reach forward and up. We get lots of length here. We can no longer get any more length. Then that's when we switch the arms and pull the shoulders down. Maybe that top arm comes up by the ear. Make sure you're not locking your knees out. So if you need to, put a soft bend in those knees. Try to turn the chest, the belly to the long edge of the mat. Breathing here. Lots of work for triangle pose. It looks like such a serene pose, but there's a lot of energy happening. To come out, we'll bend through that lead leg to come back up and then come back to our starting point. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, soft bend in the knees, fold it forward. So adjust the feet if you need to. Remember, you can use props. If you can easily reach your mat with your hands, let's take our hands kind of back behind us so they're reaching through the legs with the fingertips facing away from the mat. That's almost like a reverse of what we did on that first forward fold. So think of downward facing dog hands. So a lot of energy, we're pressing into the hands, especially if you're pretty tight in the back of the hamstrings. We do want to give some support to the lower back. So we're using our hands to take some of the weight of the upper half of the body off of the lower back. And then let's slowly walk those hands back underneath us. Let's come back into temple pose. Bend those knees, roll it on up, using your hands onto the thighs. And then our temple pose, let's draw those arms out and up, move the shoulders down. Interlace the bottom 3 fingers, our Charlie's Angels hands. Take an inhale. And then exhale, nice easy side bend. Still bending those knees equally, even pressure in the feet. Breathing here. Let's come back to center, up and over to the other side. Let's come back to center, straighten those legs, arms back down. Let's draw those feet a little bit closer towards each other so they're a little bit wider than the hips. And let's come into either supported forward fold or yogi squat, your choice. Whatever feels comfortable on your body, whatever is good for your joints, that feels good for your joints. Always just listening. And then as smoothly and carefully as you can, let's meet on our bottoms. So just find a comfortable seated position. We'll just take a moment here. And then let's slowly start to extend our legs out to the side. to a wide leg position. So if you do need to slide something underneath your hips for support, feel free to do so. Toes point up. I'm just going to grab a block, a little bit more support. Let's take an inhale. And then as you exhale, find that hinging forward at the hips. So we're not rounding through the spine. It's not about how far you can reach your fingertips forward. It's about getting the nice, mild sensation of a stretch so we can really start to open up through the backs of the legs and the inner thighs as well. So hinging forward at the hips, all 10 toes pointing up, point up towards the ceiling. I'm just going to come onto my forearms for this one and just finding what works best for you. And take a couple more deep rounds of breath here. Find that release, maybe exhaling out the mouth, maybe exhaling slowly out the mouth to signal the body to relax a little bit more. And then see if you can find that sensation of letting go. Sometimes letting go of the breath out the mouth can signal the body to do the same. Find that same feeling of letting go. This feels pretty good. You can have a little bit of roundness through the lower back so you can stretch out that area as well. So you should find that mild sensation of a stretch that you can sit in for several minutes at a time, even though we won't be here for several minutes, although it does feel pretty good. I could probably sit here for several minutes, and then let's walk our hands back. All right, so we're going to take one leg. You can lift it to bend, and then we will take the sole of that foot to the inside of the opposite thigh. Take an inhale here, and then as you exhale, let's come into just a little bit of a twist. So we'll start to point the center of the chest towards the elongated leg. We'll take an inhale, and then as you exhale, hinging forward and just finding how the side feels. So it doesn't have to be too deep of a stretch. You'll also feel a little stretch along the outside waist. Breathing here. And then let's start to sit up tall. Let's draw the shoulders back to point towards the long edge of the mat. Take an inhale, and then exhale. Just come into an easy twist. Head stays over tailbone, shoulders relax down. Notice if the knee's coming up. Just allow it to be heavy, but the toes on the elongated leg still point up towards the ceiling. So we're twisting the shoulders to the opposite direction of the extended leg, but maybe we'll take a look back towards your extended leg toes. So you just get an easy stretch along the outside of the neck as well. And trying to keep that really good uplifting position with the spine. And then let's slowly come back to center. We're just going to switch over to the other side. Very carefully assist your own body if you need to. Sitting up tall, a little bit of twist. So the center of the chest turns towards that straightened leg, and then hinging forward any amount. Get a nice stretch along this outside waist. And a stretch underneath the leg as well. Breathing here. All right, let's walk our hands back up, head over tailbone, square the shoulders. We'll start with squaring the shoulders to the long edge of the mat. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, let's twist to the opposite side of that extended leg. Hands are wherever to support. And then you can keep your head here, or you can look back, maybe a little drop of the chin down towards the chest so you really feel the stretch along the outside of the neck. But find what works best for you. Still strong in that extended leg with those toes pointing up towards the ceiling. And breathing here. And then let's slowly untwist. Let's turn now to face towards the top edge of the mat. I'm going to grab my props just to make sure they are within hand's reach if I need them later. Let's extend both legs forward. All 10 toes point up.
Extend the arms forward, move the shoulders down. Really start to engage through the belly. We're going to roll slowly back down onto our backs, but rolling down the spine, trying to take as much time as you can, maybe even pausing, feel the energy of the belly. Controlling the descent. And then when you get your head down to the mat, just reaching those arms up over the head, pointing out through the toes, nice little stretch here. And then let's start to bend those knees, slide the feet down onto your mat. Now let's come into our thread the needle pose without the core work that we did at the beginning of the class. So extend the right leg up, cross it over, flex through the right foot the whole time. Maybe stay here, just working on opening up through that right hip. Or if you can comfortably, you can draw the leg shape towards you using any props, maybe interlacing the fingers or using a belt underneath the left leg. And take a few moments here. And then find that, that release. Notice if the lower back is tensing. So sometimes we tense up the lower back when we draw the leg shape towards us. So see if you can relax. Relax everything that doesn't need to be tense. Finding your nice, mild sensation of a stretch. A couple more rounds of breath here. And then let's release the left foot down. And we're going to take peace fingers, your right peace fingers onto your right big toe. Or if it seems too far, you can just take your hand underneath the right leg and come into half happy baby pose. So half happy baby pose with the right leg. So we're drawing that right knee to the outside of the right shoulder. And then for this left leg, if it feels good, just kind of a little counterbalance, you can open it out to the left. If you need a little bit of support, you can use your left hand or any props that you might have. So it's kind of butterfly pose, the left side of the body meets happy baby pose or half happy baby pose on the right side. And just kind of feeling things out. One more or a couple more rounds of breath here. Find this openness of the inner thighs as well. So lots of stretching happening. And then let's draw those legs back towards each other. Release right foot down. Let's move over to the other side. Extend the left leg up and then cross. Remember, if the knees don't like this, just hug the left knee into the chest. You'll still get a stretch for those hips. Maybe you're staying here. Maybe you're drawing the leg shape towards you. Maybe you're using props or maybe you're just using your own hands. So find what works best for your body. Still finding that deep, soothing Ujjayi breath. And if you do need to exhale out the mouth, to find that release, sometimes that audible sigh really helps the body to relax. And then let's release it on down. Peace fingers around your left big toe or hand underneath the left leg, whatever floats your boat. And then left side of the body in happy baby pose, right side of the body in your butterfly pose. As long as just a comfortable, mild sensation of a stretch. And breathing here. One last round of breath. And then as you're ready, let's draw those legs back towards each other. Let's draw either peace fingers around the big toes with the palms facing each other or hands behind the thigh. And then just going to your point of comfort. So if you have any spinal concerns, you can come into a full happy baby pose. That's fine. If you want a little bit more and the spine is okay to lift the bottom, your sacrum, your tailbone off of the mat, you can come into a baby plow pose just to stretch out through the back of the body, straightening the legs as best as you can comfortably. So find what pose works best for you. Breathing here.
Let's release. Let's come into a twist. Left foot down, right thigh crosses, just like we started our class in. Shift the hips up and to the right a few inches, and then allow those legs to fall to your left. You might notice, since we're a little bit warmer than we were at the start of the practice, you can go a little bit deeper into the twist. Feel free to use props or your own hand, or just place your right toes down to support so we don't over twist. It's just a comfortable twist. Maybe you're turning the head to the right for another stretch. And then as you're ready, let's slowly unwind. Make your way back to center. You center the tailbone onto the mat. And then over to the other side. Left thigh crosses over right. Lift and shift the hips a little bit to the left so that the tailbone stays along the center line of the mat when we come into twist on this side. Maybe using your own hand or a prop to support the twist so we don't over twist. Something comfortable that almost like you could fall asleep in, but we won't be falling asleep unless you really want to. All right, and then let's slowly make our way back to center. Let's separate those feet as wide as the mat. Make sure your hips are centered, rest the inner knees. Let's take our hands behind the neck, give our neck a little massage. Maybe a little squeeze of the heels of the hand into the base of the skull to pull the head a little bit away from the body to stretch out the neck. And then release it back down. Make sure the head is in neutral position, so about a fist width distance between the chin and the chest. And then find your most comfortable position for your final pose of Shavasana. Maybe you're keeping the knees together. Maybe you're extending the legs long on the mat. So find what works best for you. Let's all take an inhale together. Exhale out the mouth. And enjoy these next few minutes of your Shavasana. And slowly begin to deepen your breath. Sense a movement into your fingers, into your toes. And on the next inhale, you can stretch the arms to a comfortable point. As you exhale, hug the right knee into the chest, followed by the left. Give those knees a little hug, a little squeeze. And then as you're ready, slowly roll onto one side, and let's press our way up to a comfortable seat, head coming up last. Let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart. Take a moment here to recognize that intention or that dedication you set at the beginning of your practice. And then let's draw the palms of the hands together right at top of our heart. Taking a moment to feel gratitude for everything that you are grateful for in your life. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. As always, it is a privilege and a joy. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you next time.